All right, we will get going here. This video will have a lot less beats and stuff and more talking than normal because I really want to show a feature involving effects and using microphones. So hopefully I won't mess up the screen too much. I had this external mic, not the best mic in the world, TC Helicon thing, plugged in to the external in left with the mic, with the switch set to mic. And I'm just going to show you some stuff I do to bring vocals in. And my VersaLab people will be like, but ours automatically has, handles vocals better, and a dedicated XLR jack. I am connected with an XLR to a TRS cable, going in. I think that kind of helps. It's like a balanced cable converter, just a little 3 or 4 foot cable. So picking one of those up ain't bad. So anyway, yeah, had that going in. But on the MC-707, it kind of takes a minute to get a workable sound out of a plugged-in mic. And what I really want to show is we got this box, we got all these tracks, and, if you just want to do, especially like my thought process is like sample creation, like if you want to like just create like cool vocal fills or effects or things vocally. I mean, you have all these multi-effects, built into the box. The trick is on any given track, you can only have, or any given really clip of a track, you can only have one. So, that could be limiting, obviously. But there is a way if you want to, again, if you're just doing this for sound design, and then you could kind of afterwards build out your tracks more, because you're going to take a lot of tracks doing it. So I'll usually bring vocals in. I usually go left to right, because it's easier to, I think there may be an actual reason, functional reason, that they kind of run left to right. But I like to bring in, create a tone track on this first track, bring in my audio with an audio insert. And there's a reason I do that. So let me start first real quick. So for some of the settings, right now if I click the input button, you can't see anything until I move the knob. External volume, I have it at 0 right now. And if I do shift plus input, I think this, I'm still connected to that. So let's get out of there. Turn that off. Okay, sorry. Now shift input. You get this mic sensitivity. I think it defaults to off. And I think this external in defaults to stereo. I usually bring the mic sense most, if not all the way up, just because that seems to help with presence and things like that. External in, I'll go mono because I'm just using the left side there. And recording measure, that would matter if I'm doing a looper track, but I'm not right this second. So really that's all I want to affect here. Now, if I go to the mic, you're not going to hear it at all. I'm going to raise the... Obviously, I'm talking in the other mic. You couldn't hear that because I was talking in the other mic. If I do input again, shift, bring this guy, I'll bring it all the way up. Now I'm still talking in the other mic, but I have to bring the master volume of the whole thing way up to hear it at all, so I'll do that. Okay, now I'm talking on the other mic. You can hear that. Doesn't sound nearly as good, but you can hear it. To me, that project volume's too hot for where I want to end up at, so... Here's the first question. How do I get the signal, better? I have mic sense all the way up. I have the external in all the way up. Where do I go from here? How do I turn my amp up to 11? So I'll show you that real quick. What I'm going to do, this is where I also like the flexibility of using an audio insert track. So while my input's still selected here, I'll do shift, bring this. I'm actually going to bring this external in volume all the way to 0, pop out of there. And I'm going to bring this down to a normal level, normal-ish. And now I'm on a blank track, by the way. I just have a template. If you create a new one, default, you get a tone and a drum, but I don't like having to delete that every time if I don't want a drum in track 2, so I just made a blank one. The one thing I always change if I set a template is go to project and then settings, and I change the project level to 127, just so it's max volume or whatever. But you could, I think it defaults to 100 or something like that. But anyway, so now to create a tone track from my first track, I'm just going to do select here on an empty track, It's already selected as a tone. Now I'm going to do shift select. And right off the bat, I'm going to do audio insert, external in L over here. The other thing I might go ahead and do, you don't have to, but I'll set this to clip. That gives me the option down the road of having different effects on different tracks or different clips of the same track. So there's a use case. I'll show that later on. But so yeah, right now, this is where this is going. So just those settings. Now I'll go back to the mic. Check. You can at least hear it. It's a little quiet, but you notice if I drop the fader, I'm going to the other mic now. But now I'll bring the fader back up. You hear it. Again, it's not really loud or present yet. So let's fix that. So now let's go back to shift select, get these track settings again. You notice I got the two tabs. I got EQ and I got MIDI. All right. What I want to mess with is EQ. Now, the main thing you want to look at here, obviously the EQ switch, turn it on, and then the second one is this EQ input gain. That's going to be your biggest boost of dB to get this mic up and popping. Some mics don't need a lot of native EQ. The one I'm talking on right now through my mixer is pretty awesome. It's the Sonotronic Solo dynamic mic, and it just has a lot of clarity, almost like a condenser, but in a dynamic form. So great mic. Also, if you're curious, I'm running this into my phone, all the audio and all that through a Zoom LiveTrack L6 mixer. Great little desktop mixer. There's my plug for some gear I'm using. But other than that, pretty much 707. So here, I'm going to switch this on. And let's bring the input gain up. I'll talk into the mic while I do it. The other mic, check. Bringing it up. So, I mean, you can go to ridiculous level, plus 24 dB, probably too much, but there is that. One way you can kind of check this, possibly, I'll leave it right there for a second. Get out of here. If you do shift record, check, and I change this. Right now the recording source is PC. If I change this to track 1, you can see, like, hey, if I was going to record on here, I'm already going over. So I've probably goosed it too far. So that's just a good way to check. Now, go back here. I'll bring this gain down to, maybe like 10 or 11. Might be good once it's all said and done. Let's get out of there. Let's check it again. Check. That's better. Yeah, I mean, still could go over. At that point, if I really wanted to bring the whole project up a little bit. So, yeah. I'll bring it down just a notch from there. Cool. All right. The other thing is, I felt like, sorry, I should have gone back there. Sorry, I'm covering it with my hand, but I'm holding the other mic, secondary mic. But let's go in here. Because this mic lacks a little on the clarity side, let's add a little bit of sibilance there. 2D, maybe 3, 2000. Mid, I could probably leave. Low, I could probably use a little boost. It's a little flat sounding. Teeny bit. Yeah, a little good stuff there. Okay, so right now we have, I'm going to switch to my other mic for a minute, so I'm not holding this thing the whole time. But yeah, we got this, this mic sounds so much better. But I figured I was going to talk to you the most. I'll use the better mic for that, the worst mic for the demo. But we got it coming in. Now the big thing is, we have it set at clip setting for the track, for our sound source. I'm going to go ahead and do shift sound to get over to my multi-effect. So I'm on the first clip of this track. And then I want to go in here. I already have this turned on. Just type through, which kind of means no effect really. Now I'm going to swap this around and I'm going to find a compressor. Because oftentimes that's the first thing I want to use to kind of clarify. It's really fun to use overdrive though. Okay. So yeah, there's our compressor. If I go into there, as I'll talk on the other mic, maybe a little bit of attack, a little bit of higher release, whatever. Ratio I'll set to 4:1 for now. And threshold, you kind of bring it down till you hear it really squashing. So that's way too much. Probably about here-ish. Feels decent. Maybe a little post gain after the fact. Bring it back up. So yeah, man. Yeah, not bad. A little clarity. Now I can kind of move my head around with the mic, and I'm not like, it's not dropping out every 0.8 seconds. Again, not a perfect vocal chain. You could do more. You could do, I was going to do, see where it's at on that, you know. Yeah, hopefully the track one, it'll also even that out. You know, if I was squishing it hard enough, it would be even in that. I wouldn't have to worry as much about that. So we have that one. We have our first track. We have a working mic, and we have sound coming through, you know, okay tone. Again, better mic, better sound. So now what do we want to do? If we want to do the layered effect thing, here's where I would say, let's create another tone track here, right beside it. Tone is already selected. Let's do that. I'm going to drop this mic so I can do the other stuff. And back to here. And we will go to shift select on that guy. And here we're going to go set to clip while I'm in here. Audio insert. So in this case, we don't want to go external in this time. Now we want to go track one. Okay. So there it is. Track one. And I think the fact is when I scroll down, I can't get to any more. This is why I think for the audio insert, it always has to pull from some track to the left of it, you know. Now, if we were over here, we could pull tracks 1 through 4, whatever, you know, but here, since there's only one to the left of it, that's why it doesn't give me any other tracks to choose, which is cool. This is what I want anyway. So go in here. All right, so now, and by the way, on any of these clips, you could send to the master, you know, the master effects, master reverb, and delay, you know. I'll set a different thing here first, and then I'll show you what I mean with that. But so let's say same thing. We're kind of on a clip. We haven't officially created a clip, but you basically create a clip once you go and start editing it. So if I do shift sound again, back to our multi effects, and in this case, I want to go and let's do like, I don't know, a phaser or something. Do a phaser. There we go. Grab the other mic. Check. And the other thing, while you have sound going through both of these, you can drop the fader on the first one. So check. Here's our original sound. Now we only have this sound. So you can see, you can hear the phase a little bit through like a level. There's a level, delay, send, low gain, high gain. I'm going to add a little bit of high gain just to cut through. Yeah. My mix is 127 all the way up. You could bring that back down if you wanted. More of a blend. Oh, yeah. 12 stage, 4 stage. I'll leave it there. Manual, I don't even know what that setting is. By the way, if you're wondering about some of these settings, like go into there's a parameter guide. It's not the main manual, and it's not even like the update manual. It's the parameter guide. After I start talking on the other mic. And do that one because it like really details a lot of these little settings and with diagrams and paths and stuff. Some of the effects, like honestly, the default sound doesn't sound great on some of them, but it's like when you dig deeper and learn what the controls do, you get more, you know, you get better sound and stuff later. So for now, I'm just going to stay on the phaser. Okay, so now let's get out of here. Now let's keep stacking, right? Like, let's say I want to let's add a wild delay or something to that. So let's go select another track, another tone track. In here, you know the bit. We're going to go change to clip and audio insert. Now it should give us, now you see how, like I mentioned before, now I have option track 1 or track 2. So I'm going to check. Now, if I want to stack them, now if I wanted to do them kind of parallel, you know, I could like have all of them pulling from one, you know. So in that case, if you just want to experiment with faders and everything, you know, maybe you want the phaser here, you want the delay here. I mean, heck, we're experimenting. Let's just do that. Let's leave that on track 1, right? And then let's add do our shift sound. Let's add an effect. Let's go up here and let's find some kind of delay. Like a multi-tap delay. That's always fun. So I'm going to bring down the Track 2, I'm still on this mic. I'm going to go over here. Hello. Yeah. So the cool thing is that you just hear the delay. You're just fine. You can mess with the delay for hours. Now, if I want this is kind of parallel. I have here, the original, and the delay. So I could actually bring the original much further up and just kind of mix in this like a parallel deal, right? Like parallel, almost like treats it almost like a send effect in a DAW or something. So yeah, I mean that's an option if you just want to hear different levels. And this is kind of easier when experimenting than going over here and okay, where's the mix? And la la la. You know what I mean? Look at how far down mix is on this thing. Here's our balance, which is basically the mix on this: dry 50, wet 50, right? So, but if I do it this way, then I can just, more of it, less of it, more of it, less of it, So that's cool. Now, if I do this, let's go back to this mic. If I change this now to track 2, now I am going to get the like layered effects is what I was wanting. So now I'll bring this guy down. Bring my phaser up. And now I got delayed phase sound coming to a theater near you. Sorry. Effects are fun. Like if we're not having fun with effects, what are we doing here? Okay, so back to this. So we got that. That's fun. A little delay, whatever. And again, at any point, you can kind of mix and match. Like if I get to here and I want the phaser but not the delay, then I just set the input of this track. So again, set a new track. Tone track here. The huge. Da 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 da. And on this one, we'll go the last one. We'll go track 3. We get all the option. Now let's find, I don't know, let's do like a some kind of a choppy stutter kind of thing would be kind of fun, right? So let's go to here. Let's do shift sound and pick another effect. What do we have? Ooh, the distortion. That might be fun though. It's gonna be loud. Dude, that's crazy. Yeah. What is up? Alright, just because distortion's so fun, I'm leaving that. It's insane. Alright. Now it'd be kind of cool is like a I know I said a slicer or some kind of thing. Maybe I'll do that last, but first I want an auto pan. So I'm gonna go select new track, tone. You know the bit. And again, you don't have to change it to clip. If you're not going to do multi clips and you could totally leave that at track. If you're just like going to run these track to track and then get a sample at the end, don't even worry about setting them to clip level. I'm just trying to get in the habit because overall, kind of the most flexibility. So I try to stay in that muscle memory for myself. But okay, here we go from track 4. Yeah, we got it all. It's funny, the mic's nowhere near my mouth. Oh, it's coming. Okay, that's insane. Okay, this is how you can go insane. If you want to know, I'm gonna turn that down for a minute so that we don't go insane. Anyway, we got this set. Let's go to sound. And again, here's where I want to go with some kind of auto. There's an auto pan in here somewhere. Phonograph is cool, by the way. By the way, they have these like multiple effects in here like, near the end, like the JD Multi. That's literally got like 4 different effects. So if you had like 3 or 4 other effects and then just that on this one, you've got like 7 effects layered, and it's insane. But haven't personally used it a ton yet, so whatever. Let's look for. By the way, for anybody in VerseLab land or on, even like ZenBeats, Zenology, like a lot of these effects are the same stuff, so it's cool. You kind of have it in different places. Where's my? I know there's an auto pan in here. I'm not lying to you. It really exists. Flanger. Like that. There we go. I knew we were in the neighborhood. Check. Yeah, now you could go in at any point. Let's say I want to change the let's call it auto pan. I love auto pan. But let's say some of this signal coming in is too hot, right? So I can go back to, let's call it, if I just select the track, I go right back to the clip on that track, So if my distortion, let's say, I don't mind that, but let's bring the level down a little bit, Okay, maybe same thing. If I'm on the multi-tap delay, again, I could just, from my distortion, I could go right there. So that's kind of cool, So you can sit there and go back and forth and tweak your effects. Let's see. These levels are a little hot. So let's bring these down to 80 or something. Again, shift and a button goes faster. If you forget. And last but not least. All right, so now let's see how. So at least we got less on the repeats. But I will go into distortion and bring that down even further. Okay. Now there you go. And at any point, you can just try the different stacks. Just this one. Those two. These three. These four. These five. So yeah, man, and again, if you had each one go back to the original one, then it's really just try each one individually, right? So that stuff's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Now, if you wanted to, let's say, record this into something, there's a few options. You could try to go into a looper track if you want to keep it in a certain tempo. What I might recommend is this. Let's go. I would create a drum track to kind of hold the sample. So I'm going to go at the very end here, make a new track. This will be my sample holding track, basically. So I'm just going to do a drum track there. Default. You're like, I didn't know this box could make other sounds. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. So we're going to have that. And the reason I'm going to have that is I'm going to go to the sample recorder, and coming out of that, you can just drop something on a pad. So I'll kind of open this back up. Here we are. So we got that ready to roll. Sip of coffee first. Okay. Nice French press. What's up? Anyway, let's go to sample recorder. So let me do it with my hand. That's not going to get in the way. Shift record. Now we're back to the sample recorder, and I'm going to change my input. Still set to track 1, which is all the way down. Which, by the way, if you bring this up, I think, trying to remember, record source track 1. Oh, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I was talking into this mic, not that mic. So now I can bring this back up. And the cool thing is you can actually use your fader while you're in here to kind of control the level. So, that's kind of cool. The fader actually matters. Now let's change this to track 5, which is our crazy layered effect. Again, I'm not saying this is a beautiful sound. I'm going to bring that down for a minute. Bring that down. Sorry, I keep talking to the wrong mic. So I'm going to change my trigger. In this case, I might as well press enter because I'm just recording in one shot. So there's really no reason to have anything else, or his clock or pre-count or any crap. So bring this back up. Hey! And after it fades out, here in a second, I'll hit enter. What's going on? Okay, bringing that down. So now we do have a sound. What's going on? What's going on? Now you could normalize it at this point. It's hot enough. I'm not going to worry about it. You have your start kind of deal. If you want to zoom in a little more, you can really kind of... This is one thing for my Verse Lab buddies. This is like the one area where it's like the screen is nice, man. Because on the Verse Lab, trying to set the start of a sample is like, makes you want to go jump off a bridge or something. It's tough. So. What's going on? So now we got it. We have our sample. Remember, I'm on my drum track. I think it's a good idea so that you don't lose this screen. Like, be on the drum track already when you're ready to actually record samples and assign them to pads. Now you can do, some other stuff. You can actually, I forget which button exports it. Function and something exports it. Or maybe it's just, function previews it. It might be shift and function exports it. You want to find out? You want to experiment? See if I'm right? No, not that. But enter, there's a way to export. I got to remember what that is. If you remember that in the comments, let me know. I forget the exact keystroke to export. And that just exports it to the SD card. But in this case, we'll just do it on the actual pad, which is kind of the easier thing to do if you're kind of doing this kind of thing. So now we'll do enter on, we already have the pad selected here. So hit enter. It's going to load to the pad. And now we can get out of there, exit out of there. And we have it. What's going on? So, let's say you want to do another one. Let's say you want to do one with auto pan but no distortion, right? So let's go back to here, shift select. We're going to change this to track 3 instead of track 4. Right, and now if we bring this up, check. Now we just have a cleaner, phasey, but non-distorted sound. So now, since I went over here, I'm going to go back to my drums. I'm going to do shift record. Check my levels. Fine and dandy. It's so lovely to record stuff. All right, got that done. Back to this screen. Heck, if you want to see normalizing in action, I'll go to -1 dB. And now, I think you pressed normalize button. No, not that one. Which one do you press? I'm trying to remember. Maybe, it did. Okay, yeah, it did normalize while I was yapping. And again, kind of cut the beginning a little bit. And now, I'll move to pick a different pad here, and enter to load it. What's going on? Still got that guy. It's so lovely to record stuff. So, obviously, you're a more creative person than me, probably, so you can always, find cool ways to, use your own speech, bring in just a speech sample, you can always feed that in to the external in, not the mic. If you're going to do that, then still do the audio insert. You could do even a stereo sample, external LR on this first track. Obviously, most likely, you wouldn't have to do as much on the input gain and all the mic settings that I did ahead of time for that, but that at least, gets you in a good spot. But I think this is a great way to build. I mean, you could just sit there and spend a day building just a drum track full of like, speech samples or voice samples or sound effect samples or whatever, it's kind of a cool way to do it. I'll figure out offline. I know when you're on the loopers screen and you record, there's a way to directly export to the card. I'm pretty sure there's a way to do this way also. One thing I'd like to figure out is how to find the samples within the project. It may be in here. Let me see. Let's go to project real quick. If we go to sample bank manager. So these are our 2 recorded samples. What can we do with these? We can obviously preview them. So 2 samples, right?
It's so lovely.
Cool. You can edit them. Does it bring up the whole? Yeah, that brings that up. So I wonder now if I do function, that still plays it. Man, I gotta figure that out later. It's gonna drive me nuts. But because there's not an export here, but there is a rename, and I assume this is will be in the project folder, like on the card later. So theoretically, you could rename them here, which would make sense versus a 1 recorded sample. Rename them here and mine it off the card later in the project folder. I'm guessing is where it ends up. Someone correct me in a comment or something if you know that. But yeah, man, it's a totally dope way to just build up a drum track. And heck, if you wanted to, you could go insane. Since we have this set to, well, actually, I don't think we did on this one. Yeah, we still have it set to track. But if you had set this to clip, right, you could actually have 1 drum kit full of samples on 1 clip. You could end up just using 1 track. You could end up with 16 clips worth of 16 samples each. I'm not even going to do the math. You could end up just mining a ton of samples this way. Just saving them off for general use later. So I don't know. It's a cool idea. And so the other thing I was going to talk about, which if you had all these tracks free, that's one way to kind of sample different effects, right? Let's say you want to just take 1 track and, try different effects kind of with just the press of a button, how does this sound? How does this sound, right? So if we take these same effects that we have here, I'm going to do this kind of in an easy way. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this track, or this clip, sorry. So we'll do copy. I'm going to go down to this first track, second clip, and I'm going to paste. I could just paste sound, really. Yeah, let's just do sound, because really that's all you care about. Because the sound has the multi-effect, right? Same thing with this guy. I'm going to third track, clip 1, copy. Let's go ahead and paste you down to here. Sound. Go to the 4th one, copy. Paste sound. And last but not least, 5th, copy. And paste sound. Now, this theoretically should work, but, I've been known to be wrong before. So right now we have these on. If I go back to my track 1. So this one, remember, the first one was with the compressor. Now, an easier way to see this, we go to clip view. Right now, and I've showed this a little bit, talked about the clip view earlier in a different video, but right now we're in the kind of default mode of the clip view, which is basically each track, But in this case, I really only want to hit buttons on the 1 track. So I'm going to do shift and clip. And that gives me the option track view. It's set to multi by default. I'm going to move that to single. And now the cool thing is, now these are the clips that I just have 1 through 5 on just this track. So side advantage, a little extra bonus tip for you. This is also a good thing to do if you want to just use this as a sound module to, you want to bring in 16 synth sounds to a gig, that just leave this view up and just literally press a button and change sounds. If you have a different tone, synth tone on every one, it's a great use for this particular view, right? So now we want to see what happens if I just switch to the next one. So now we have a phaser. Hey, look at that. Hey, cool. Hey, now we have a multi-delay. Now we have distortion. Yeah, what's up, bro? And now we have auto pen. So yeah, now in this case, obviously you can only do one at a time, but it's a cool way. Or if you were like singing a song like live, and you're normally going to be on this da 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 da, and you want to get to the chorus, you could just boom and go to the next clip. Which I'm pretty sure, because I feel like I've done it before, you can set, you can set MIDI up, MIDI pedal or something, or guitar effect pedal or something coming in the MIDI in here. Let's say you got a Helix or something, some kind of box, quad chord decks, whatever your guitar box of choice is. You just hit a button on your thing, on your effects unit, and it swaps you over to the massive delay or something. So that's kind of a cool use just for a live use case if you really want to get a lot of your bang for your buck. And again, you could do that all just on one track. If you kind of route vocals or a guitar or something through it, you literally can just change to 16 different effect sounds with a hit of a button, and that's not even touching. You could still, in that scenario, have your other 7 tracks free to actually like play some other background music, So, yeah, man, it's just super flexible. I love that about this thing. All the routing is pretty cool. I mean, I've done things like at church where I brought in, an iPad for tracks coming through 2 of these channels, and then maybe a click track routed separately, and this or that, and so, or like made my own click track, partially. So that's the one huge advantage of this 707, and probably a lot of the reason for the jump in price between that and like the VersaLab, is just all the ins and outs. You can kind of use this as a virtual mixer. I mean, people have said this before, but you have your external in left, right, and your return left and right. So you have 4 mono inputs that you could feed to any of these tracks and just run external stuff through them. And so this, man, really dynamic box. So sometimes I forget all the features of the 707. I stash it away and I use simpler things for a while, but yeah, man, this is a great idea for like layering vocals, because to try to do the same thing, even in a DAW, I would have to go put it on track down plugins and presets, and sometimes, yeah, the effects in here can be a little menu divey, I'll give you that. Now what you could do if you want to kind of get around, let's say you find some sweet spots on these effects, right? You could actually just have a project where you have, a track with, and I want to say you could even name the clips, so let's say you have like, my vocal compressor, my guitar compressor, my, whatever multi-tap delay, my perfect phaser, whatever your settings are. You could actually just have those all on clips of a project, of a track, just have a whole project if you want, a project template of just nothing but effects already dialed in, and then anytime you want to kind of do this or bring a multi-effect in, you could just basically bring the clip in from that project. Because again, if you save them without any, sequence data or number of bars or anything weird like that, like it's just sitting out there with a clip, basically a sound setting, so you just mine your project of, perfect effect sounds, and you can even, I've done it before, maybe I'll do a different video where you can bring a guitar straight into the external in jack, and I forget if you have to set it mic or line. I'll have to play with that again, but probably mic. But yeah, you can bring it in. There's guitar amps in the effects, and you can actually get a passable in between that, kind of this similar idea. You bring your guitar in. Maybe your first thing is your amp sim, and then you have kind of maybe a specialty delay or reverb that sounds good with a guitar or something, or a chorus effect or whatever, you can kind of build a guitar chain even into this, and then just record similar idea, record little guitar lick parts, or at that point you might even think about going with the looper, right? Like you could actually build looper parts with your guitar through nothing but effects in the 707. Then save those down to drum pads, so you can actually could build up a song that way. So, just throwing ideas out there, do what you will. But I think I'll stop here, and yeah, you get the gist. This is a couple ways you can have fun with stacked or parallel or switching effects in the 707. So have a great day.